What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we'll be looking at the price action that occurred during the Killzone hours. Over 3 weeks, we've been talking about Killzones and how you can actually trade Killzones, and I made it known to my Telegram community that I'll be reading the price action of what happened on Monday, being the 14th of August. So we're going to see what happened during the Killzones hours. That's what I made known to my Telegram community, and I would have recorded this video yesterday being the 14th, but I wasn't too strong. I wasn't feeling too well, so I decided to do it this morning. So let's jump straight into it. I don't want to waste a lot of time. I made it known that if you want to trade the London Killzone, the ideal pairs to trade are the Euro pairs and the GBP pairs, right? Secondly, ideal time to monitor if you want to trade the London Killzone is 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. New York time. So that's the ideal time to monitor. And what do we want to see during the London Killzone? We want to see a sweep of liquidity on the opposite direction and a total reversal to the other side. That is, we want to see a fake out price taking buy side or sell side liquidity before moving to the opposite direction. And the second Killzone we'll be looking at is the New York Killzone, right? We want to see what price did during those Killzone hours. So during the New York Killzone starts from 7 a.m. New York time till 10 a.m. New York time. And I equally made it to understand that what we see during the New York Killzone is a continuation of what happened in the other Killzone, right? That's if the London Killzone is bearish, you want to see a continuation during the New York Killzone. And what I said is that price is going to offer an optimal trade entry. So we're going to read price action across different pairs, that's GBP and Euro pairs. So this one right here is Euro GBP. I want to analyze that first before we move to other pairs. Remember I said that you're going to see this kind of setup even though you don't see it every day of the week, but you're going to see it almost 3 to 4 times in a week. So starting from this one, what you're going to do, we're going to go to settings. You want to activate your session breaks, very important. So you're going to separate different trading days. So from this area right here to here, this is Monday 14th August, which I'm going to be reading the price action. Now, what you need is your session indicator, and the session indicator I'm using is session on charts. If you go to the settings, activate London session and New York session, because these are the two sessions I'll be analyzing. So the London session, like I said, starts from 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. and New York session starts from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. So style, I think I have to make little changes right here. The color for London session, I used gray color. I think I'm using the same color for the two sessions, so I have to change for one. I will use the same color, don't worry about that. Just beware of the specified time. Okay, now activating the session indicator. This is what we have right here. So from here, what can we actually see? This was the low of the Asian range, and over here we have the high, right? Now, what do we see price do? Immediately the London Killzone, what we see is price move to the upside and it swept the liquidity at this particular high. If you watch the video on how to trade London Killzone, you understand exactly how to do this, okay? So we see this liquidity sweep, and what I said is once price sweeps the liquidity, you see, once price takes the liquidity, you drop down to your lower time frame, look for your entry and trade to the opposite direction, because during the course of those lessons I made it known to you guys that the high of the day or the low of the day is likely to be formed during the London Killzone. Okay, so this is the high of the day, because as you can see, until market closed we didn't see price coming back to this particular high right here. So price formed the high of the day during this particular Killzone, and it's respected the analysis. We got the entry. Now price pushed to the downside, you have a little pullback and a continuation to the downside. So what I can say is that price respected this analysis perfectly. Moving over to New York Killzone. So this is 7 a.m. New York time, this particular time right here. I hope you can see it. Now time for London Killzone. I'm sorry I'm using the same color, but just be aware of the specified time. So what do we usually see during the London Killzone? We want to get an optimal trade entry pattern, right? We want to get an optimal trade pattern that is a continuation of what we've seen in the former session. So looking at the former session, after price swept liquidity, what do we see? We have a break of structure to the downside. After a little pullback, we have another break of structure to the downside, continuing the previous session's move, right? Now, what are we going to do? We're going to look for an optimal trade entry during the New York Killzone. So what we can see right here is that this is the high, right? This is a high, and this was the current low before the open of the New York Killzone. So what you're going to do is you're going to measure from this particular high to this low, and from what you can see, did we get an optimal trade entry? Yes, we got an optimal trade entry pattern, plus this aligns with this inefficiency right here. You see this fair value gap right here, it aligns with it. Sorry, the chart is a little bit messy, but I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. So if I try to remove the flip 2, you can see that we got an optimal trade entry pattern, and now we see the continuation to the downside, and finally price closed right here. Okay, you see price closed right here, and this is today, and what we can actually see, price respected the analysis. Although I have a point of interest I'm looking to trade from here, this is Euro GBP. I shared this analysis to my Telegram community, and it's already a failed setup, and I tell you why it's a failed setup. Now what we can actually see from here, I didn't want to talk about what is happening today, but let's talk about the price action quickly before we move to a different pair. What we can actually see is, this is the specified time, this is London open 2 o'clock New York time, that is the London session has opened, and this is the Killzone time. This is the Asian low right here, and this is the high over here, right? This is the high. So what do you see? Immediately London opened, we see that rapid sweep of liquidity. Price sweeps the liquidity at that high, and we see the rapid push to the downside. You see, price push to the downside. That is, I tell you, you're going to see this 2 to 3 times in a week, and this is Monday, and over here is Tuesday that I'm recording this video, and you can see we already had 2 setups. Okay, price already gave us 2 perfect setups. That's if you want to trade Killzone. I told you, like I said to you, be profitable trading this particular strategy. We already have 2 nice setups on this particular pair, Euro GBP. So price gave us 2 particular setups. So this is the zone I said I want to trade. This is my higher time frame zone. This is actually a 4 hours time frame zone, and what do you see? It's a failed setup for me right now, and anybody that is trying to trade from this is going to lose money trading from this particular setup I shared. And why? Remember, I said you should watch the news when I shared that particular setup, and according to the news, you're going to see that this move right here was caused by a significant news if you try to read your economic calendar. Before I go to the economic calendar to show you what happened right here, I'm going to set my time back to my local time. Okay, so remember, we use New York time, but now I'm going to set it to my local time. This is UTC plus 1 Lagos, right? I'm setting it to my local time, and what you can see, according to my local time, this is 7 o'clock, right? This is 7 o'clock, and that's the local time if I want to trade the London Killzone in my local time. And we got this massive push, and I said this push was caused by the news. So let's go to Forex Factory now. So here is Forex Factory, and what can we actually see? You see, we have this significant move, this GBP news that's happened by 7 a.m. Okay, so according to my local time, this news happened by 7 a.m. and that's why you see that significant move to the downside. This particular move, this 2 GBP news, the event was released at that particular time, and we've seen a massive push to the downside which broke below that zone. So that particular news helped the London Killzone setup play out perfectly, but it went along to break the higher time frame points of interest. I had a zone which I was looking to trade from, made that particular setup a failed setup. And USD pairs, you're going to have another significant news event that will be released by 1:30 p.m. So this is why you should always come to read your news. So going back to the chart, you see this particular one was a perfect one, and it was a good one to watch if you wanted to take the trade. But truth be told, I'm going to expect a little retracement right here. So if you want to trade this, be very careful, because we're going to have a deeper pullback maybe before the continuation to the downside. Now let's go to the second pair. So this is the second pair, and this is Euro CAD, still on the 15 minutes time frame. For what you can actually see here, this is the 14th August, that's on Monday. Like I said, we're reading the price action across these pairs, seeing what happened there on Monday, right? So what can we actually see here? This is London session. Now I have to set this back to New York time, that's UTC -4. I have to remove it from my local time zone. So setting it back, this is 2 a.m. New York time, that is the London Killzone, and this other one over here is the New York Killzone. So what do we see? This is the high of the range, and over here is the low. Okay, we have the low right here. So what we see is that price takes the high first, price takes the high and reverses to the downside. So the high of the day was formed during the London Killzone, and this is what we expected to see. The high of the day is usually formed during the London Killzone, and I said the New York Killzone is the continuation of what happened during the London Killzone. So you see, we had the continuation of what happened during the London Killzone over here, but the thing is that we didn't get an optimal trade entry pattern. Maybe let's say over here we got a little retracement. So if you measured from this high to this area, we had little retracements. Where are we going to take an optimal trade entry from this particular area right here? But we didn't get that. Price continued to the downside till New York close, and we didn't get that optimal trade entry pattern. But it's all good. At least we got a trading opportunity during the London Killzone. So what are we seeing today? You see price is pushing to the upside. Now price took the Asian high over here. Price took the Asian high, but no retracement at the moment. So on to the next chart. So this is the next chart. This is GBP JPY, still on the 15 minutes time frame. And from what you can see, this is London Killzone, and this other one, second one here, is New York Killzone. So this is the high of the range, right? This is the high of the range. Even though this wasn't an accumulation, price was actually active during this particular time right here. But what you should notice, this is a JPY pair, that's a Japanese yen pair, so it's a little bit active during that particular time. You don't usually see that slow movement we see on the USD pairs because this GBP is pairing with Japanese yen. But what we can actually see is that price sweeps the liquidity at this low during the London Killzone. That is the low of the day being formed during the London Killzone. After that, what do we see? Price pushed to the upside. It takes the liquidity at this particular high. So you see, this is a very good strategy. After it took the liquidity at the high, what else do we see price do? A little retracement to the downside during the New York time, which gave us an optimal trade entry. I'm very sure we had that over here. You see, price gave us an optimal trade entry pattern over here, and after that, what do we see? A continuation to the upside from that particular area. You see that price continues to the upside. So this is today. You see, this is GBP pair, and you see that news event is making price push to the upside massively. Okay, you see that push to the upside. So what you should notice is that this is the low, right? This is the Asian low, and here we have the high right here. But you see price is moving massively to the upside, so don't look to trade from this particular one, because what we want to see is a liquidity sweep and a pullback. But now we've seen price continuing pushing to the upside. You see 1 2 3 4 candles has moved above this particular high, so don't look to trade this London Killzone. So on to the next one. So this is Euro USD, still on the 15 minutes time frame. So what do we see over here? This is London Killzone and this is New York Killzone. This is the high, right? This is the high over here, and if you look closely, this is the low over here. This is the low. If I try to draw it properly, this is the low. So what we see is that price sweeps the liquidity at the low. You can see that price takes the low. After it takes the low, we see a push to the upside. Normally we should have a continuation to the upside, but what do we see? Boom, price push to the downside over here. So what you should keep in mind is that price will present the setup, but it's not a must that it will work out perfectly. So the setup was presented at first. We see that run on liquidity on this particular low. Now we see a push to the upside. So the push to the upside lasted till almost the close of the London Killzone before we see this push to the downside that broke this particular low. So what you should keep in mind is that the high of the day was formed during the London Killzone, but this setup wasn't a perfect one. But if you try to measure the move we had after the liquidity was swept, we had about 33 pips. Price moved about 33 pips. So if you took a trade, you would have gotten 33 pips. And if you wanted to take an optimal trade entry pattern, because if you look, we have a fair value gap right here. I hope you can see that we have a fair value gap, and the fair value gap actually aligns. So if you wanted to take this trade, you see at first price rejected a little. Price rejected 3 times. You have exhaustion candles right here. It's a failed setup for me. It's a failed setup. That is a totally failed setup during the London Killzone, during the New York Killzone. So if you wanted to take an optimal trade entry, you would have lost the trade. But if you took the London Killzone into consideration, you got a few pips before price reversed totally to the downside. Now this is my higher time frame point of interest. I have a daily time frame zone right here, and price is reacting from that particular zone. So we're still waiting for entry pattern before I get involved in this particular trading setup. Okay, now what can I actually see here? This is the London Killzone. This is today. Price takes the high. The low is yet to be taken. Price is yet to take the low. So now we have a sweep of liquidity to the upside. So let's wait. If I want to take this trade, I would have dropped down to the lower time frame to see what we have, but I'm not interested in this particular setup. Why? Price is already in my higher time frame point of interest. Price might actually pull back into this area, but for now I'm not interested in trading this particular setup. So let's go to the last one and let's end the video. So this is Euro JPY, and this is the last pair I'll be looking at before I end this video. So just like I said, the JPY pairs, Japanese yen pairs, they are almost active during the Asian session. So you see this movement, you see this significant move during the Asian session is as a result that euro is pairing with the Japanese yen pair. So what you can see is that this is the high right here, this is the high and this is the low. So London open, what do we see? A liquidity sweep, which is what we love to see. A liquidity sweep, price forming the low of the day, because from what you can see, the low of the day was formed right here. Now a push to the upside. After a push to the upside, is already in our favor, because if you want to take this trade, this is a good one. Price presenting the particular setup we want to see during the London Killzone, where we see a run of liquidity taking this Asian low. Perfect one. Now a push to the upside, right? A nice one. Now New York Killzone, an optimal trade entry pattern which you want to see. Measure from the low to the high. Perfect. We have an optimal trade entry pattern, right? This is a perfect one. We have the pattern and now we see a continuation to the upside. Now finally market closed. So what you should keep in mind is that the low of the day was formed during the London Killzone. This is what we want to see, and this was a perfect one. Looking at what's happening today, this is the high, price to the high and a continuation to the upside. So if you want to trade this Killzone, I would advise you should disregard this. Don't trade this, because you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 candles pushing to the upside. So don't do that. I hope you got value from this, understanding that Killzone is a very good strategy. This strategy is owned by ICT and is a very good strategy to trade if you want to trade it. So I hope you got value and I hope you understand what I just explained. So if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing to the channel. I'm Solomon Wisdom and here is Born to Trade. So thanks for watching this video. I hope you got value. See you in the next video.